this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for September 4th, 2025 to order. All right, so second item on our agenda is roll call. Kate, can you help us out with that?
David Larson.
Present.
John Meyer.
Here.
Pete Fuller.
Here.
Stephanie Garner.
Here.
David Huser.
Here.
Kate Payne.
Here.
Kathy Olson.
Here.
All right, that means we have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started. So item C on our agenda this evening is the approval for the agenda for tonight's meeting. I would ask for a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Seeing none opposed, that motion passes. All right, item D is approval of the minutes for July 3rd and August 7th, as printed in the agenda for tonight. I would ask for a motion on that.
I move that both be approved as presented.
Second.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, hearing none opposed, that motion carries as well. All right, that brings us to item E, and I just want to take a moment since we have quite a gathering here. So basically what we'll do for both items, item 1 and item 2 in the public hearing section is I'll open the public hearing for item 1. We'll ask for any feedback from the audience here. Just approach the podium, state your name, your address, give us your feedback. And then once we're done and everybody's had a chance to speak, we'll close the public hearing just on item 1. We'll discuss that, take action, and then we'll open the discussion in the public hearing on item 2, close that, etc. So just if nobody's seen that process before, that's what we'll do. So really the first item in our public hearing section, item 1 is a rezoning application for 195 20th Street Northwest and 110 20th Street Northwest, Waverly, Iowa. Kate, if you could just walk us through that agenda memo.
Yep. So MDN Partnership has applied to rezone 195 20th Street Northwest and 110 20th Street Northwest from S1 Shopping Center District to C2 Commercial District. This includes parcel ID 0904-230014, 0904-230015, 0904-230013, 0904-230009, and 0904-230006. The buildings included are Willow Lawn Mall and Mercy One Waverly Family Medicine. Over time, the Willow Lawn Mall area has transitioned from a traditional retail shopping center to a space primarily used for office and commercial purposes. The rezoning request aims to align the zoning with the current and potential future use of the property. According to the future land use map, this area is designated for commercial use.
Thank you. All right, so hearing that, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing for item 1 under section E of our agenda tonight. So if anyone has any public comments for that, now would be the time to step forward. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing for item 1 and go to the commission for comments, questions, and discussion.
I guess the question I have is, why isn't the entire S1 area being switched to C2? Why is it just pieces of it? When you look at the aerial and the existing zoning map, why isn't that entire, I mean, I can understand the transition, but why isn't the entire piece being changed from S1 to C2?
So Mike Sheehan is the applicant, and the parcels that I listed off would be the ones that he owns.
Well, but MDM Partnership, unless I'm misinterpreting the aerial map, is that you're saying it only includes basically the mall and the clinic, but there are other pieces of...
There's other parcels that are incorporated in that. So if you look at...
Is it all the MDM parcels?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, so that's why it's...
I misinterpreted the photograph.
No.
Well, the outline doesn't have the old McDonald's in
Well, yeah, that's what I'm asking.
That's what you were referring to, weren't you?
Right.
Yeah.
But it is all of the MDM partnership properties.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Mike, I called and I said, how come you aren't doing the other one? He said that is supposed to be all part of it. Is that what you're?
Yeah,
he
that's
told
what
you
I'm
today?
saying. Yeah, right, okay,
So that's what we'll assume that it covers what the old McDonald's was.
right. I guess the numbers do, yeah, it does include 06, 09, and so on. Okay,
Yeah, it wasn't in that blue outline or greenish blue, whatever.
the graphic
Yeah.
confused me.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Okay. Other discussion with the commission? If not, I would ask for a motion.
I would move that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of this application for 195 and 110 20th Street Northwest to convert from S1 to C2.
So,
Okay, been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, that motion passes. All right, moving to agenda item 2 in section E in our public hearing section. Kate, if you will read us the agenda memo on this one?
Corson Properties LLC applied for a special provisional use for a building addition at 218 2nd Street Southeast for a crematorium. The addition is proposed to be 3 foot from the north property line. This can be approved through this special provisional use process. The site plan includes a 6-foot privacy fence from the northwest corner of the building west to the property line. The 2 parcels have been officially platted together, but due to Bremer County requirements, have to be shown as 2 separate parcels on Beacon. The commission and council already approved the plat of survey of the lots, and that plat was recorded. Crematories must be licensed through the State of Iowa Department of Inspections, Appeals, and Licensing. Crematories must meet federal EPA regulations for items such as disposal, air quality, and emissions. Staff is supportive of this SBU request.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'll move to the public hearing. I'll open the public hearing for item 2 under section E. So again, if you have comments, please approach the podium, state your name and address, and you can share with us.
Hi there. Thank you for allowing me time to speak. My name is Emily Gonski. I live at 112 2nd Avenue Southeast here in Waverly. I live there with my husband and our 7 children directly across the street from the proposed crematorium project. I have major concerns regarding the construction of the crematorium, and I'm asking the Zone Commission to deny the special provisional use of lot 0902181010. This lot is currently zoned as R2 or residential district. The lot is in the middle of a residential area and is simply not suitable for a crematorium. The proposed addition would be straight out my front door and the main view from the apartment building windows behind it. A crematorium should be set in an industrial location and away from our front yards. According to the National Collaborating Center for Environmental Health, crematoriums emit harmful chemicals and particles, such as mercury from dental amalgam of the deceased, as well as metals and tissues of the individual, or even memorial items in the casket. They also emit carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, and sulfur dioxides, to name a few. These pollutants can even include polychlorinated dibenzo P-dioxins. Dioxins are highly toxic, causing a range of serious health problems, including cancer, reproductive and developmental issues, immune system damage, and hormone interference. This is a quote from the NCCEH. The pollutants of most concern from crematoria emissions are PCDD and Fs, Hg, and fine particulate matter. PCDD and Fs and Hg are known to be toxic to humans and can bioaccumulate in the tissues. PCDD and Fs are classified as possible human carcinogens, and Hg is a neurotoxin. Exposure to PM 2.5, which can reach deep into the lungs, can increase the risk of heart disease, lung cancer, asthma, and adverse birth outcomes, and exacerbate other conditions such as diabetes. For these key pollutants, agencies such as the World Health Organization and the United States Environmental Protection Agency advise that care should be taken to limit exposure, particularly for vulnerable populations such as babies, children, pregnant women, and the elderly. This is the exact demographic that surrounds this lot that's proposed for the crematorium. Kaiser Corson submitted a study done by the TRC, who completed an emissions compliance study. Despite the study appearing to clear up emissions concerns, the document was, quote, was to determine visual emission rates during normal operating conditions, not environmental or chemical. I'll touch briefly on the odor concerns regarding crematoriums. They're not supposed to have a smell when functioning properly. If the system malfunctions, there is potential for thick black smoke and the odor of, quote, burning meat or plastic. This quote was taken from the news article done by a reporter in Phoenix during COVID-19 who interviewed neighbors surrounding a crematorium. Their statements were gruesome. I can direct you to the article for more information if anyone is interested. There are things that malfunction and need repair in my home all the time: my car, my dishwasher, and my water heater. I don't want to hope that a crematorium will not malfunction so that we don't have to worry about smell from a cremation process. My other concern is resale value for our homes. A study done by the Norada Real Estate Investment said homes decrease in value by 6.5% simply by being near a funeral home. Without a doubt, the property value of the homes surrounding the proposed crematorium will go down significantly. There is already a concern for resale value living near a funeral home in the first place. If the city allows a crematorium to be built next to an already decreased valued property area, it will no doubt put the surrounding homes into serious financial loss when it comes to resale opportunities. I actually also spoke with 2 realtors here in Waverly who agree that it would greatly decrease the value of our homes, and I have some on my petition as well who signed. On behalf of many in the community, I can say with assurance that having a crematorium built in a residential area would greatly affect our everyday life. I personally would not have bought my home that I live in now had I known a crematorium would have been built across the street. The zones established by the city are put in place for our protection and the functioning of the community as a whole. Please advocate for the families in this community by denying the zone special provisional use. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Benton Gonski. I live at 112 2nd Ave Southeast. That's my lovely wife. And I don't believe that a crematorium should be in a residential neighborhood. It's zoned as residential for a reason. I don't believe it should be there. I think it should be built somewhere else.
Thank you.
My name is April Perry, and I live at 317 First Street Southeast with my 4 children. And everything that she just said, I mean, you have to agree with. It's all the statements are pretty powerful. And if you were across the street from something like that, you would definitely have some, not feel too great about it either, you know, with your kids and that kind of chance of those smells. And so I agree with everything that was just said by Emily.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gary Sadie, 91 2nd Avenue Southeast. My concern was, it seems like this has been railroaded through pretty quickly. I believe the plans must have been in the works probably for over a year. The parking lot was purchased more than a year ago, my understanding. And suddenly we've got all the plans done, everything's going, but nothing has ever been said to the people in the whole neighborhood. Maybe get a survey or something before you go through with all this. I can guarantee you the people we're talking to, a lot of them are not here, are not happy about this. This is not something that belongs in the neighborhood. We have plenty of commercial property throughout the city that this could go to. Why it has to be right in the middle here, with the apartment complex next to it, I can't even imagine living there with a 30, I don't know if it's 30-foot stack, and you've got rooms that are gonna be above that are gonna see and smell perhaps some of this immediately right from this building. It just doesn't make any sense why it has to be here. With all the farmland we have around here and commercial areas, at least get it out of this particular area. I don't understand. And then it had to be done so quickly, and then they give us 1 week, less than a week, to even try to defend our position. It's over. I knew people weren't going to be around. They go away for the weekend, and people got 2 days to try and fight this. And boy, if we had a number of people and we could give 6 months of our time to it, I think this would have made a difference for us to try to compete with the views that we're getting from the funeral home. So anyway, I'm very much against it, and I live right across the street from it, and I love the area, and I'm telling you, I get up in the morning, I look over the river, it's great to be alive and everything else, and then I go to the east. Oh yeah, there is that mortality thing. And I think that's the thing that bothers me. It's a constant reminder to see whatever is coming out of this smokestack is just not something I think we need to have in the neighborhood. And it is, as a lot of people have said, it's kind of creepy. I know that's not a good defense, but it is. So, thank you for your time.
Okay. My name is Destiny Kramer. I reside at 809 2nd Street Southwest. However, I manage the property located at 201 1st Street Southeast. I did not prepare for this. I don't have an essay written or anything like that. However, for anyone familiar, that address is the address of Waverly Historic Lofts. We have 34 apartments located throughout 4 stories. And as Gary was mentioning, I am concerned for the air quality. Ages of our residents, we literally just had a baby born in like June. So we have like a 3-month-old baby located on that property. And our oldest woman is 74, 75 years old. And she already is so paranoid about the air quality of the city. And this would just be so much worse for her. I am worried about our business reputation. I do believe that people will not want to reside at a location located next to a crematory. And we are also affordable housing, which is not something that's really offered throughout Waverly. There's not really multifamily homes or affordable housing, so this is the only option that a lot of people do have, and I am afraid that they will flock from us. And then we also have multiple kids under the age of 12, which, as Emily mentioned, they are very greatly at risk, and they're always playing outside, riding bikes and scooters and playing with chalk, and we have a picnic table and they love to eat out there, and I am very concerned for the air quality and their health.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Randy Nydorf. I live at 3 Street Southeast, and I just don't think a crematorium should be in a residential area. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Ryan Tucker. I'm actually a resident of Denver, but I'm one of the owners of the funeral home here in Waverly. We serve 3 other communities as well. Just to give a little background on the funeral home itself, and I guess where we're coming from, it was never our goal to try to ramrod this through in any way. This is really still part of our feasibility study to see if this is something that even was going to be allowed in our area. So really at the funeral home, what we've done for over 100 years and what we're going to keep doing is serving our community. We have seen a shift year after year in the needs of the families that we serve, and the needs of, or the increase in the cremation rate. Just to give you a little background on that, we as a funeral home, about half of the families we serve, their request is cremation in some form during the service. The national average is closer to 60%, and the Iowa average is about 59%. But we're seeing an increase just like they are on a national level. We're just not quite up to those national numbers, but our ultimate goal as funeral home and funeral directors is to serve the public, and I greatly respect the opinions of our neighbors, and we want to be neighborly. The last thing we want is upset people in the community, and like I said, we're here to serve. One of the big questions that we get from families that we do serve and their loved ones cremated, I think it's fairly well known, we don't have our own crematory right now. We use the Waterloo cremation service. That services a lot of area funeral homes, and we've partnered with them for quite some time, well before my time here. The design process, we weren't trying to get the cart ahead of the horse, but we needed to see again if this was going to be feasible for our area. We kept, you can maybe see in some of the design work with Cardinal Construction, kept our neighbors in mind throughout the design process. The structure that we're proposing being directly connected to the funeral home does create a great expense, but we wanted that continuity of care, where once we do receive a loved one, someone's loved one into the funeral home, we don't have to, for lack of a better term, wheel them out to a garage somewhere. We have access right from the funeral home. That was something really important to us. The outward appearance of the crematory itself, I would say that if someone drove by or was living nearby and didn't know it was a crematory, more than likely they wouldn't notice it was there. A lot of times if you see funeral homes or crematories portrayed online or in a movie, you notice a big stack towering above a building. And that's simply not the design that we have. And I don't know, I do have pictures of what that would look like. I don't know if anybody would be interested to see that at any point. But it is a covered, what'd you call it? Is chimney the right word?
Yeah, it kind of looks like a chimney, but it's a metal stack on top.
Yeah.
Metal cap.
And I don't have the data, I apologize, on how far that sticks out of the roof. I believe it's 5 or 6 feet?
That sounds right.
Just as a visual, this is what that stack would look like.
You want to show that?
Yeah, I have copies of this too. This is what essentially what's that?
She came over, put it on the overhead so everybody could see.
Sorry, I should have let you know I had that.
Oh, that's all right. Sorry, I've never been in this
I can pass those out. I printed several of those. I guess if anybody's interested in passing those out. that behind me. So essentially, the stack, this is portrayed very closely to the extent that it would stick out of the roof line. I believe it is 6 feet above the roof, and I apologize, I don't have that exact figure. This sort of design is very optional for crematories. This is more of a, if you see the stack, a lot of times people see this or think of something much taller and very industrial that would stick out of a rooftop, and that's really not the design that we're after. But it can show the difference in interpretation of potentially what the building looks like. And I noticed in the designs that we submitted, there wasn't any of this portraying that. So just to put out on the open what that would potentially look like. In addition, design-wise, it would be very congruent with what structure we have there already, as far as the siding, the roofing. The overall goal that we had was to make that very continuous, to not have an eyesore, to not have a large stack, to really have the right sight lines and everything there. That space also would be, as you can see in the materials, a great majority of that lot would be turned into green space. Right now it's very unsightly. We understand that as the owners of that lot. There's a garage there currently that we would keep, but the rest of that, if you want to call it asphalt, I don't even know if it's that anymore, would be removed and create a green space there, just to create more of an aesthetic piece. I can speak a little bit to the, maybe more on the efficiency of the crematory itself, and some of the studies pertaining to the emissions. Actually, the testing is only done on a state level as far as the emissions control. The federal government now does not deem this enough of an emission for them to control, so it goes state by state. I am not super well versed in what those numbers are, but I do have an additional study on some of those carbon emissions, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide even, that will be produced when the crematory is running. Just an overview of kind of how the crematory operates. It's actually a 2-chamber system. So when we think about cremation, certainly we see, or we can picture, if you must, individual inside being cremated. That's the main chamber. There's a second chamber within that crematory, or some call it a retort, that acts as a second cremator. So the individual that's being cremated, there can be, if and when there was ever an issue with the crematory, and if black smoke is created, that is a big problem on a lot of different levels. The efficiency of these units that we're proposing have safeguards in place for both heat through the stack and opacity. So if too much heat is coming out of the stack, if there's too much opacity, which means smoke essentially that has color, the machine will shut down. That's monitored both remotely, if we happen to not be on site for whatever reason. It's also monitored by the crematory manufacturer. They can see in real time the data that is being created with each time we use the crematory. So I greatly understand the concern for odor, for black smoke, for any smoke for that matter. When this is running, the stack is there to release heat. So you can see heat coming out of the stack. If it malfunctioned, yes, that's a huge problem. There have been reports of black smoke, that's a problem. But we believe the safeguards in place that we would potentially have with this unit at an added cost are very much diminished with the data, the sensors, the protections there. I think that's all I...
Ryan, I have a
Yes.
question.
Yes.
How many cremations are you anticipating on an annual basis or a weekly basis? Do you have your?
Thank you, that jogged my memory of where I needed to go next. We do, I would say around 100 cremations a year, which means for us currently, when we use the Waterloo cremation service, that's 100 trips to take an individual to the crematory. Typically, we go down the next day to bring the ashes, the cremated remains back, so the family can have a burial or a service or can take possession of the ashes. So essentially, it's 2 trips for us every time we have a cremation to service. So not only do we, quote, lose control when we're using a third-party crematory, there's that concern. We do have a very good relationship now with the crematory that we work with. If we didn't, we would look elsewhere. But about 100 per year. That brings up the point I almost forgot, so I appreciate it, Dave. The crematory now, as we see it into the future, would not run every day. It wouldn't, all day and night, it's not running. Typically, a schedule is created where the crematory would potentially run 2 to a maximum of 3 days a week for a couple hours a day, just depending on our schedule. It's much more efficient, so to speak, to run it just a couple days a week rather than use the resources and energy to heat it up just for one cremation, then it cools down. The next day, you wouldn't want to heat it back up again for a single cremation and have it cool back down. So we would look to add efficiency to our operation and just to have it make sense too. It certainly would not be an everyday operation. So,
Do you anticipate doing any work for any other funeral homes or just your own?
not as of now, no.
Just your 3
Just,
sites?
yeah, so our 4 locations, Waverly being our main location, we don't have any plans right now to service any other funeral homes. It could happen in the future, but we don't have any current plans. Nobody's approached us. We cover quite a large area just with our operation, being the only funeral home in every town we serve, so we cover a pretty wide range of communities the way it is now. So,
Did you chat with any other facilities in the area to kind of get a feeling for what their experience has been?
Sure. So the nearest, I would say, similar sized town that has a crematory would be New Hampton. Their crematory was just built a few years ago, 5 years ago? Yeah, somewhere in there. And theirs is right on Main Street in New Hampton, the funeral home is. And then their crematory is in a separate building on the same site. So it'd be similar setup to what we have,
I pulled it up, it's maybe on Walnut Avenue.
Yeah,
Right around the corner.
Yeah, so the funeral home's on Main Street, and then similar to our setup, they have their crematory on site just in a separate building. And just to the north of them is a residence, and maybe a few other houses, I'm not 100% sure. So they would be similar in size to our funeral home, maybe a little bit smaller. Mason City has 2 funeral homes on the same street, and that's a mix of residential, commercial, historic district. There's a library right across the street from the one crematory, and they're within 3 or 4 blocks of one another, and each funeral home has its own crematory. Hampton has a crematory within city limits. I'm not super familiar with their operation, but I would say it's somewhat common to have a crematory within city limits, certainly. Yeah.
Have you looked at other possible locations within the city?
We have not within the city. When we saw the opportunity with the lot next door, and our main goal was continuity of care, keeping the individual in our care through the whole process. Since it was available, again, we wanted to see feasible-wise if it would work, but we have not looked beyond this current site.
So would you lose most of the advantages if it were a mile away, for example?
I think I don't think we'd lose advantages. I think cost would be a consideration, that it would be more costly to build. This would be a significant investment in the business where it sits now. Having it closer would be much easier operation-wise for us, certainly. But having it right now, the way we're operating with a crematory a half hour away is not really efficient, or the direction we want to go with the families we serve either. So
earlier we heard from Mrs. Emily, quoting some studies. I'm always worried about cherry picking some particular individual studies that may not be reflective of what is reality. But in terms of chemical emissions and so on that was referred to, can you clarify, is this an issue or?
I'm certainly not an expert in this field, but again, we're not really being super cutting edge here, reinventing the wheel by adding a crematory to our funeral home. I do understand the concern. I do have additional numbers, not just on particulate size, which what we provided to you. That study is important, and the study is measuring the particulate coming out of the stack, and the numbers were 0, which is ideal. Certainly, you don't want anything coming out of the stack. My question to the crematory manufacturer was, what about the particulate you can't see? What about the, quote, the pollution? I do have those numbers. Again, a lot of these, I'm not familiar so much with the numbers. The carbon monoxide, this is measured in pounds per hour. This is for the crematory, is 0.0004 as measured emissions. I did look briefly, because the current method we use, driving individuals to and from Waterloo in a vehicle, the carbon monoxide numbers for a vehicle is 0.027 pounds an hour. I don't want to say I'm cherry picking. That's one number from this study. The other number, to be safe, that I did look up, because I'm a little more familiar with carbon dioxide, the measured emissions in pounds per hour is 217, rounded. For a vehicle, it's for the amount of driving we would do is close to 100. So crematory is about double for carbon dioxide, but carbon monoxide, quite a bit less. There's 6 other emissions that are tested on here as well. And again, there's no federal guidelines for these numbers. It's all monitored by the state.
I
for their
wrote the
emissions.
full 11-page emissions study that I took all of it from, if you're interested. And it's from the National Collaborating Center of Environmental Health.
And this one is from the TRC Environmental Corporation.
Correct, which is
Yeah.
like visual emissions.
So I have a question kind of along the lines here.
Okay.
You're obviously looking at a particular product, a thing you're going to buy, and it's going to get installed in this, what to me it looks like a garage. But that product data that I would assume, and maybe you have it, and maybe you can get it, it includes information about the actual testing of the emissions from this product. I feel like that information would be helpful information for everyone to understand,
Sure.
because I'm sure that they have to test their product, and
Right.
they know what it puts out,
Right.
because they're selling it and installing it, and you're going to this isn't a public bid kind of situation, you're going to pick a specific product.
That's correct.
So you will know exactly what the testing data for that unit is.
Yes, and that's what this is here, and I apologize, we didn't get that to your group or to the public. I just got this very recently, so I apologize that it wasn't included, but this is for the actual unit that we're looking at.
Did I understand it right that they monitor what's coming out of your stack?
The crematory, or the manufacturer,
Manufacturer?
yes, they can, yep.
Is that, are you having that done, or is that part of your?
That's
purchase?
part of the service that we're looking at as part of the purchase, and a monthly monitoring of the emissions.
Like remotely they monitor it through
That's correct.
sensors installed in the unit?
Correct.
So if there's some sort of trigger that the numbers get high, you get a
Right.
phone call?
It's also helpful on the maintenance side where they can remotely get into the system and provide support that way as well.
How fast do your safety shut down? And how fast do they stop the emissions?
I don't have that with me exactly. There's some data I did read through with this unit where within 1 second of it reading an output that's not ideal or that's not within range, it'll shut down.
In an ideal situation?
Say that again?
In an ideal situation?
Yes. If the safety features failed.
Well, you're talking about maintenance on this too. I mean, obviously you have to clean that chimney occasionally.
Right.
So, later into the service, before cleaning, you start building up stuff. Those mechanical parts get a little slower.
Yes. Yeah. That's part of the maintenance monitoring as well with this company, where they can provide that input, whether it's on a monthly or weekly schedule, whatever that is, or if they're getting numbers that are coming back saying XYZ, you need to clean this part. That's part of the monitoring as well.
Do you have a plan to test these safeties prior to every operation?
I don't know that there's a plan before that. Not sure.
You, off this subject for a minute, you mentioned many times that you have a very good relationship with the Waverly Crematorium and your efficiency because of traveling back and forth. How tight is the competition you're dealing with to make you want to build here? It's a 30-minute drive. A lot of people go to Cedar Rapids, which is a lot further. So comparatively, I'm not seeing an issue with driving 30 minutes, especially since you're in an urn.
Sure.
So what's the competition like that makes you want to build here?
I think it's keeping things just closer for us. We keep harping at the funeral home. Again, our relationship is fine at the moment with the crematory we use. But almost every cremation family that we serve wants to know, where's my loved one going? And we explain. We use a third-party crematory. We don't have one on site like a lot of funeral homes. And we haven't, to be quite honest, haven't got objection from families for that. But I think it's just our operation to streamline, keep things in our control. We always look to the future. where if that crematory were to close, we still would be having to outsource it to someone else. And just from a business standpoint as well, to keep things operational and cost efficient for the families. If we can keep it in-house, it certainly controls some of the costs. So.
Are any of the ones in Waterloo in a residential area? Excuse me?
Yeah, so Parrot and Wood, there are some apartments in that area. I'm not sure exactly how it's zoned. Block Funeral Home just built a new facility with a crematory. I would say that's more in a commercial space. And the one we currently use is more commercial. There's a couple of restaurants in that area, but certainly commercially. Yeah.
Ryan, if I can ask, how long has Kaiser Corson been in Waverly and operating at that location?
Sure. So the funeral home itself has been in operation since 1901, but at this current location, 1940s at this current location. It's been added on to a couple times just to meet the demand and kind of call volume. Our ownership group has owned the funeral home for 6 years. We
Sure.
bought from the Corsons in 6 years ago, September 1st.
But a long history in operation at that location here in
Yeah.
Waverly?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay.
I thought about this for a while when this came across my radar this week. And I looked at images online, you know, and because my computer defaults to architecture sites, I get all these incredibly beautiful buildings all over the world that are these fabulously artful and lovely places that are crematories. This is not that, no offense to the architects if they're here. But what I see when I look at the drawings looks to me like a garage that I built in my backyard. Other than, obviously, the chimney situation is a little different. So what I think is, I've started, and this is my husband's reaction too, he's like, it's really the creep factor. And I mean, at the risk of being kind of crass, I feel like that's the strongest thing going on here. And that and maybe the particulates and the gassing is a concern, and I get that, I truly understand that. But I have to believe that the regulations on that kind of stuff are real and managed and monitored, and that anyone who drove by what I see in these drawings would go, oh, there's a garage, they probably keep a vehicle in there.
Sure.
Unless they knew or could ascertain what those chimneys meant.
But we don't just drive by, we live there.
Right.
I understand that, I get it.
And they actually are not regulated. Like he said, I mean, he admitted so that the EPA does not regulate. I did a lot of...
The EPA on what's required.
But they're not followed through.
But we need to-
Hold on.
they need to
You
come
guys
up
are,
here.
we're talking
One at
about
a
it right
time,
now.
I agree.
It's okay.
So, but my takeaway here is that what people are, this is more of an emotional issue, more than it is an actual risk or inconsistent with the zoning requirements issue. Because while it's adjacent to a residential area, the future land use plan says that it is intended to become a commercial block.
Correct.
I understand that there is a residential building there with multiple units in it. But I don't know if our prerogative here is to look at the specifics of what's required on a zoned lot, the way it's zoned, and that we have to be careful not to get caught up in the weirdness factor of this. When I start going down the weirdness aisle, I start thinking about, it's just as creepy to think about a body being driven down the highway. I think that's equally strange. But, I mean, I guess I just want to make sure that we're being careful when we talk about the difference between the sort of emotional side of this, because there's absolutely an emotional side to this, and the actual, what are the zoning and planning and zoning kind of concerns that are actually in the special provisional use and the future land use plan that's actually on our docket of discussion. I think I said my piece.
Well, and to your point, I did mention before that in our discussions, we have looked at other and visited with other colleagues that have built crematories, that currently have them. Some put a crematory in a Morton building. We certainly have the space. It would function in a Morton style building with steel siding and a steel roof, even a flat roof, but then the stack looks even taller. And we got away from that idea for a couple of reasons. Not cost. It would be much less expensive to put a steel building up, put a crematory retort unit in and operate. But we felt we were very cognizant that we wanted continuity between the current layout, current building materials to make it all flow together there. So.
All right. Any other questions for Ryan? He's up here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Connie Miller. I live at 209 2nd Street Southeast, which is to the east of the facility. I wasn't prepared to speak tonight, although I have, as a person in the neighborhood, I am not for this. I am downwind of this facility by about half a block, so I'm not for it. But listening to this discussion, the neighborhood people have clearly indicated that they don't want this in their neighborhood. Their concerns are emissions. The other side is arguing aesthetics. I don't think anybody said they don't want this because it isn't going to look nice or that they're creeped out by it. They're concerned about emissions. And I don't, much as I appreciate the services that you guys do, you don't, to me, haven't presented some mitigation of those concerns. So I feel like it would be kind of hasty and reckless to decide this before we can really see those concerns addressed for emissions. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I heard from the people that were speaking against, not creep factor or it might be ugly. So, thanks.
Thank you.
I guess I've never been anywhere that I don't speak, okay? So you get used to it. By the way, that's, thanks, Kim. Is Kim or what was it? Ryan, thanks for your information. So if I was sitting your desk.
Can you state your name and address?
What's that? I do not live there. I own properties there.
Say your name and address.
Who are you?
Roy Peterson, 102, 104, 221, it goes on and on. Okay, I own several properties in the area. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't prepared I wasn't ready for a speech either, obviously. But at the same time, I don't think I got all the answers for me to make a clear decision. So I came in here right now with no decision yet, and I have not heard yet to sway me one way or the other. It will affect, if I was to push tenants through, it will affect me somehow, some way, once they realize it. Okay? And that gets back to what Kate said a little bit. There is that analogy of what's going on in front of you, and you don't know it until after it's too late, and then you'll have to deal with that, and it will be too late when that time comes. Corsons have been around. I've dealt with them. I've actually worked with them on properties, and they owe me a discount when I pass away, so I'm in this for them too. But at the same time, I want to make sure that if they move to a different location with this certain specific building, they could also pull the price down somewhat, not having to deal with the aesthetics. So put put the cheap chimney on it, or maybe they don't need to regulate it or have all the bells and whistles that they are doing, which I think is wonderful. I'm trying to stay on both sides because I have neighbors that are next to me too, so I want to make sure everybody, maybe hears me a little bit on both sides. So I got that tenant thing, and then I tell you what, this young lady here that spoke about the high-rise there, that's a big thing to consider. So you live on 4th floor, you put yourselves on 4th floor, you look out your south window and you see steam. In the wintertime, you're gonna see smoke, and it's not smoke, it's steam, because we all do that with our own chimneys. So in the wintertime, we always emit something. We just don't know if it has any danger to us. It's coming from our furnace, it's coming from our water heater. All of a sudden, now you know what that building is, you find out what that building is. And then all of a sudden, you see it 2 to 3 days a week. So just keep that in mind. It's not about me, it's about the people on that 4th floor. And I'll be honest with you, they're 35 feet away from that stack. So that's what I have to add. I really don't have a full decision yet myself, but I want to make sure everybody's doing their homework. And I always like plan Bs. I'm an engineer, 40 years of it. Let's have a plan B, and that's all I'm asking. So just make sure you're fair enough.
I do want to clarify something here too. We're not making the final decision. Planning and Zoning Commission is a recommending body, and we will forward a recommendation to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, who is chaired by Mr. Pete Lampy here. And that board will be the one that makes the final decision. Now, I don't know whether that will be in 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever our recommendation is. If it is given a positive recommendation, I don't know when it goes to the Board of Adjustment. If it's a negative recommendation, certainly the applicant has a decision to make of whether they keep it going or not. So I guess, I hope everybody understands that procedurally as well. We're not making the final decision here, but we make a recommendation. To my knowledge, whether it's a positive or negative recommendation to the Board of Adjustment really doesn't make any difference in their consideration. They take that as part of the evidence to evaluate. So they may be asking a lot more technical questions than are available here. So, that is not going to be the end of the situation. Okay. I just want to make that clear for everybody.
Ryan, could you talk about what kind of a time frame you're thinking of? I appreciated your clarification that you're not trying to, I think it's important to know you're not trying to ram something through here by being a little bit nefarious about how you're sharing information. But what kind of a time frame are you working with? When do you want to make a decision? Do you take this discussion into consideration when you're looking at feasibility? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I don't think we can really, we wouldn't move ahead until we had approval from the bodies. And we have had discussions, as far as breaking ground, that sort of thing, but we can't really, even get close to that without knowing that we can, build on the property. So it's not something we're trying to get done before the end of the year, anything like that. So,
Have you started any of the permitting process with the state for the crematorium?
I have visited just to see what that process is like. And they don't, I shouldn't say they don't like, they prefer to have the crematory so that without knowing that we can, build on the property. So it's not something we're trying to. Sounds like me.
I think you did good. What did you do?
I was looking for something, just smell it.
We're almost in real time here, just a second, we're almost real time.
There we go.
Remind me of your question.
Sorry. I asked you about the state permitting process. If you...
So they have the request that once the crematory is in the building state, usually within 2 to 3 months of completion is when they like you to apply.
So you probably won't start that until you get through the city.
Exactly.
process.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will say and one of our other funeral directors and owners, her name is Danae, she's been working mainly with the city on this, and she had to be away tonight traveling, so she's worked really closely with the city since we've never added on to one of our businesses to know what the steps are, and they have been very helpful as far as not letting us get too far ahead, like, hey, you need to do X, Y, Z before you get too far. So we appreciate that, the guidance we've gotten there. But certainly to Kathy's point, the last thing we want to do, and the timing was through a holiday weekend for this meeting, and I understand that. That was never our intention to have people not prepared for this, so.
How long has it taken you to get to this point? How long have you been working on this?
Well, after we bought the lot, we were working with a different builder, not a different crematory manufacturer. We didn't have good progress with him for a number of reasons. He was out of the area. We don't need to get into what happened exactly, but we felt that it was not going to be a good move to continue with his business as the general contractor. Again, we were trying to get cost-wise potentially what this would be for the business to even see if it was worth buying that lot. And when we learned, now we're working with Cardinal Construction, one of the representatives is here tonight, obviously a well-known contractor in the area. So we've, again, I use a feasibility. That's what this essentially has been. And the building layout, where it's at now, is quite a bit smaller than when we started, just to see if we could be more efficient that way. So I don't know if I can answer exactly.
Well,
it's been 9 months, a year.
I remember seeing her sitting in the crowd. Oh, mercy, that's been a while ago.
Yeah. It's taken a while.
So you've been at this. This isn't just a quick.
No, this isn't it's been quite a while that we've been, well, not only talking about it, but just seeing if it's going to be something that works within, our business, certainly in the community. So we're very mindful of that. We feel we provide very essential services. I don't know if there's any doubt about that. We want to be very neighborly, certainly. So we have considered that quite a bit, and I think we've displayed that. So.
Can you talk through any issues? Maybe I feel like we should talk through. Maybe it's after you close the public hearing, but I would like to understand what the ramifications are of this in terms of the special provisional use and the current zoning. And I just want to make sure we all understand that clearly, but that maybe after the public hearing is done.
I agree. So I'd like to give everybody kind of a chance to speak again now, if you have any comments for the committee here, commission, excuse me. Okay.
And we did have communications come in that all the commission members received, so there were 3 against and 1 for,
Yep.
and was the 1 petition.
Correct.
Yep, just wanted to state that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Seeing no more people rise here, I'm going to close the public hearing and start the discussion with the commission here. Thanks for bringing that up, Kate. I was going to ask that as well, that everybody on the commission had a chance to see those messages. And Kate, your summary was good.
I think, just for everybody's, I think, who asked it about, go through the special provisional use so that everybody understands it, Again, that's what I was looking for. I was trying to get to the code and hit the wrong button.
That's fair.
But I think that's something that would be helpful for just members of the commission to review that again, plus for the public too. So would you like to, can you pull it up? I can't, I screwed up already trying to pull it up.
I pulled it up on everybody's
It's on here.
screens
It's
too.
on here.
Where,
Yep, it's section
Microsoft.
100.21.09.
Third
oh,
tab.
okay, there we go.
Yes.
So the special provisional use is approved by the Board of Adjustment with a recommendation, and that can be a recommendation for or against, in essence, from the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall hold a public hearing, which is what we did here. And then it's include a publishing notice in the local newspaper, which was published on August 28th. And then mailing to all the property owners within 250 feet. So that's where we're at.
So the property right now is R4. The land use plan shows that potentially changing to a commercial block, right? So it's inconsistent today with what the future plan is.
Correct. Now, I will make a statement straight out of the city code. Regardless of zoning, the SPU process applies for
Right.
this type
For any
of
zoning.
No matter
request.
what the zoning
Correct.
situation
Correct.
is, right, okay.
Yeah, just as a reminder here.
And within that special provisional use, funeral homes, mortuaries, and crematoriums
Correct.
are allowed.
Are required
Are required.
to come through the
Yes,
process.
yes.
But
that's
so
better
is a
way to say
school.
it. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, auxiliary class building.
Yep.
Let's go to the couple tabs over.
Oh. I'm-
Veterans posts.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, really my summary of the special provisional use process is, it's approved city code that this process is followed for these sort of requests. And we're following that process, as John mentioned earlier, to provide our advisement to, in this case, Board of Adjustment. I had to look at Pete to remember that. And really, our mandate, in my mind, is to review it from, again, as John said, from a land use future state, which we've talked about being a transitional area here. It's currently one thing, it's on the very edge of being another thing, so that does add some complexity to any discussion around land use when you're in an area that's a transitional neighborhood, especially one within, a very old part of the city, which, the funeral home here has a long history. They're a small business. Those are things that we want to maintain and support in our community, because that is part of what makes a community in my mind. So this is certainly the process that we're following, and our guidance here is to work through our discussion, so. Other questions in discussion?
Well, I guess the comment I'll make is that turning this block into commercial, in the comprehensive plan, it seems to me that the commitment that was made to the historic lofts really kind of changes that perspective a bit. Also, there has been some discussion that the old bank building and the lots to the south maybe could end up being something besides commercial as well. I've heard discussions of, dreams of maybe that those would turn into some residential units as well. That really gives me a hard time thinking that something like this fits the neighborhood. And I really, really struggle with this, I really do.
this is just a thought going through my head, did the results of this kind of a discussion and hearing from the neighbors in this way have any impact on how you look at it, Ryan, how your company looks at it?
You want me to approach?
You may.
Okay.
I only speak for a fourth of our ownership group, but we certainly don't want to upset anyone, especially the neighbors. We understand that it's a funeral home. It's a different type of business. We've been told that our whole careers. And we're where we're at, and we don't have any plans to move the funeral home. So it is concerning to have neighbors that don't want this, and that's without discussing with the rest of our people. But again, I'll point to our discussions as ownership group from the get-go was we were very aware of our neighborhood, of the people around us. So we've done our best so far in our designs to hopefully keep the neighbors happy. So to hear their feedback is concerning, and I don't know if right now it changes our plan. Potentially it could. We don't want the neighborhood mad. If you get the neighborhood mad, word travels fast too, where you have the whole town upset. So we're not here to do that. And at the end of the day, we're going to keep serving our families in whatever way we can. But I don't know if I have a good answer to that just yet. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to put it on the table and we'll see where we've discussed this evening. So I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the special provisional use for crematorium at 218 2nd Street Southeast, Waverly, Iowa, to the Board of Adjustments.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Procedural question, without a second, what happens?
Well,
motion dies.
Yeah.
That motion dies, but
We still have to
mean
take
that someone needs to make a motion for the other direction.
an alternative.
Does it take it off? Well, I mean, it can come back, right?
We can. So I would ask for a motion on someone's thoughts. As an alternative.
Want me to make a comment? No?
Well,
it's a little out of protocol.
If that motion dies,
I believe we
for
need
lack
to
of a
make
second, that means
a
that
recommendation
there has to be a
to
motion
the Board of
the other
Adjustments,
direction.
one way or the other.
Yeah.
But
Gotta give a
it's being
recommendation
forwarded to the
one
Board
way
of
or the other.
Adjustments, just whether it's with a recommendation or without a recommendation.
Say that again, Brian.
It needs to be forwarded to the Board of Adjustments, either with a recommendation or without a
without,
recommendation.
I have to just say, I'm struggling with this because I don't see yet a really good reason other than emotional ones that say that it shouldn't be done. And that's why I'm really struggling.
And I'm struggling because I haven't seen enough of the emission test or the requirements for emission tests and what the state actually tests for. I looked earlier today and I got real busy and didn't have a chance to finish. it didn't seem a lot, but there was a lot there.
Would it be reasonable to ask that this just hold off for a month until we get additional data?
You can table it
Yeah. it
and
can be
ask for
tabled.
additional.
I mean, I guess I don't understand the emissions thing. I don't know if that's.
That, I would like to table it for, get more information on the emissions and the regulations on that.
So can we present a motion in contrast to?
Or you could just table this and then pick up the conversation at the next meeting.
You'd have to open it back to a public hearing again.
You would have to table it until a fixed time, so you would say until our next meeting. So you can't just table it indefinitely, but you have to say
course.
when we're gonna pick it back up again.
Does that, sorry for the procedural question, but does that require a motion and a vote, or it's just an
I
action?
believe it requires, yeah, I don't know if it's a voice vote, but I mean, it's not a roll call vote, but I think a voice vote will do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I make that motion that we table this.
Do we have to unmotion his?
Yeah, don't we have?
Well, there we go,
The
second.
chairman declares
We'll
it.
not kill it.
So,
Just a second.
seeing no second for Commission Member Huser's motion, I consider that
Yeah.
dead.
It failed for lack of a second.
Yeah.
Failed for lack of a second, sorry. I appreciate that.
And then,
So that allows us to,
Make the motion to table this until the next meeting to learn more of this emissions and requirements and permitting for the crematorium.
And if the applicant chooses not to give us any more information, we have to be prepared to do something.
Correct.
okay, so we have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
second.
All right, I have a motion that's been moved and seconded to table this till our
October 2nd.
October 2nd, 2025 planning and zoning meeting. All in favor of that, say aye. Seeing none opposed or hearing none opposed to that motion right now, that carries as well, so. Appreciate all the discussion.
Payne was waiting.
Chair?
Just so that you understand, we do have a Board of Adjustment meeting scheduled for next Monday. Due to the fact that you have tabled and wanted to get more information, I will be talking with Paige and Kate and checking with the attorneys to make sure that we can also table at the Board of Adjustment for Monday to wait for your further information. And that would be what I would like to do, but I will check the legalities on making sure I cover it.
I'm sure that would be a prudent thing to do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pete. All right, so we do have an item under our regular business, agenda item F, which is a Plat of Survey creating and separating Parcel AB from 607 30th Street Southeast Waverly.
Why is this still coming up?
Waverly, Iowa 50677. With that, Kate, could you walk us through that agenda memo?
On February 17th, 2025, council approved an engineering proposal from Watersmith Engineering to design the East Gate sanitary sewer lift station replacement. This parcel separation will allow for the city to move towards purchasing this land to accommodate the lift station. Justin McLawn, Public Works Director, and Russell and Nora Bruns agreed to the sale and obtained an Option A agreement that will be approved by council prior to this Plat of Survey. A temporary construction easement will be secured prior to construction. A utility and access easement will be approved at the time of the land purchase to allow the city to access this parcel.
Thank you. So when I looked through this, I guess I was just looking, so there's a, I don't know if anyone knows the answer to this, but there's an upgrade plan for the lift station in this area as part of the service to the city, right?
To that addition.
Is
Yeah,
it
and I mean,
localized to that?
The old lift station is being abandoned, a new one is being constructed.
Okay. This is just the Plat of Survey to acquire the land.
Acquire that land, yeah.
And then the rest of it would just be city business, right? This is the land use discussion for that.
Yeah. Well, it becomes this quote subdivision. It's a Plat of Survey.
When that was developed, they had their own sanitaries.
And that's what's there now, and the city kind of took over the...
Well, they took it over, I don't remember when it was. Let's see.
It's always been a lift station, but it's been up there on almost incursion into the highway right-of-way.
Yep.
And now it's being moved back and enlarged and updated.
But the current one is a city maintained
Yes.
lift station.
Yes.
This is an upgrade to that. Okay. I didn't know if anybody knew the answer to that, but I was curious.
Kind of how I figured, I read it. Yeah, that's where I was at with it.
Yeah. Okay. Further discussion of the commission?
I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the Plat of Survey creating and separating Parcel AB from 607 30th Street Southeast, Waverly, to the City Council.
Second. Oh, I didn't hear you.
We do it at the same time, so.
So Kate takes it, I think.
Kate
All
takes it.
right. So we have a motion that's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Hearing none opposed, that motion passes. Moving to item G. Kate, do we have any staff updates? Okay. Item H, commission updates. I just would say, last week gave our annual update to the city council. Included in the agenda as well. Good feedback. I did realize, and I want to take an opportunity now, is I forgot to thank the entire commission for your time and efforts. It does not go unnoticed by me, and hopefully others on that council. So I will say that now for public record. So that's all I have for commission updates. Anybody on the commission have any further updates? Seeing none, that brings us to item I.
I move that we adjourn.
We are adjourned.
How did I get into